I'm a different person from 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago, actually, we began the work on 750 began last April, about 10 months ago. And the way it looked like to me is that there was a room in our office that began to proliferate with maps and colors and conclaves. Liz would meet with people, and sometimes the drawings would be taken down and taken to meetings, in the far geographies. Then it would come back. There would be meetings at the Dover Coal office, and then Dover Coal office would come to us, and all these national consultants would fly in. And my thought was, I think I can duck this storm. It's a kind of UFO going on. And then about a month ago, our fearless leaders, Marcela, Jim Murley, Dover Coal got together and said, it's your turn. It's your turn to speak. And I said, I don't think I can do this. There's been entirely too much work, too many statistics, too much insight, too many of these questions and meetings. I could never be up to speed. And they said, sorry, it's your job. You can figure it out. So I entered the lab, and I began to look at all the drawings, some of them messy, some of them exceedingly clear and beautiful, stacks of statistics, and I saw 7 buckets on the ground, which were the counties, and the colors and the flasks, they're all being sort of put in. Nothing was very orderly, nothing was labeled, and 1 bucket had spilled. And they basically said, and that was Treasure Coast. Indian River, who has opted out of the system, at least partially opted out of the system. And so 1 bucket was spilled, and they said, why don't you mop that up? That could be your job. You be the janitor and mop it up, and while you're at it, put it in order. And that's what I've done. And I went through a bad period because it was all very confusing and very cramped and a lot of information. And I realized that I could not put the lab or the janitor's closet in order until I stepped outside it and looked in. And looking at it from the outside, not we who know everything about this place, we who lived here, we who are intimately related with the details of our life and the present, we're not going to put this in order, or at least I couldn't. What I wanted to see is what we looked at from the outside. What does it look like from the outside? And what does it, in other words, what does it look like from abroad? If you're not from here, what do we look like? Why would you come here? Why would you open a business here? Why would you ship through here? Why would you fly here? All of these things when you have choice. So what I've presented today is a mopping up. And it will coincide with the information and the beautiful maps that we have before. But perhaps it will, if nothing else, mop up a bit of the mess of people who are, I would say, relatively unhappy with what is happening. Now, bear in mind something about these groups and a meeting like this one. This is a self-selected group. You're highly interested. Many of you are professionals that are involved. When we get the statistical correlations, it's distorted. So I'm not looking at it from us. We are sympathetic. Look at the way that, we all got the right answers overwhelmingly. What happens when people come into the meetings and they don't understand why we're doing this? So I'm addressing that problem. I hope it sounds different. By the way, I don't think the truth is that startling. That must have been an old title. Okay. I have never actually not had my computer here. Okay, 750. To explain it, of course, what is that? I think it's an exceptional name because it explains immediately that it's the plan for 7 counties and 50 years. Okay, 7 counties and 50 years. That's a long time. It's a large area, but above all, it's a very long time. Okay. This is the 2nd summit. That doesn't mean there haven't been meetings by the dozen of other types, particularly when you consider that there are meetings from your very large and selected team. It isn't just public meetings. We have private meetings that are just as contentious as the public ones, and they have the very same character. Because one of the things that's interesting is your consultants are not only presumably professionals at this, we're also residents. So we can actually play both sides. So the meetings are different. Now what I would like to add to this is a look ahead and abroad, not just from the inside, and virtually everything we've looked at is from the inside. I would also like to see what missed opportunities might like. What happens with the opportunities that we have, and we miss them. And that perhaps is what's most interesting about what I'm about to say. Okay, now the 7 counties are a very big region. 50 years is a very long time. Bear in mind that the 25 to 35 at the midpoint, which was the largest demographic present here, at the midpoint there'll be 60. People like myself won't be around even at the midpoint. And so one of the things I'd like to see, oh, and by the way, Victor in the first summit made a wonderful, hilarious presentation of what it was like 50 years ago. To remind us, do you remember that one? How long ago 50 years? It was a different world, completely different world. These are images from his presentation. So one of the things I'd like to urge upon you is 50 years is a very long time. The present is a distortion field. Okay, what we know now, how we drive, how we look upon this place, actually, in some ways, is not entirely helpful. You know, because if we project and we project, we end up with horse manure processing factories rather than gasoline stations. Okay, so let's bear in mind that it isn't just about projecting the present. And I'm afraid that planners like ourselves do become a little confused, and when things don't come out clearly, we say we need more statistics. We need more statistics. I remember when the first statistics came in from Elliot Allen in who's here present, I understand, in Oregon, and I wanted to know where the wealth lived. Where are the rich people living? You know, I wanted to see, and I presumed it would be along the coast, etc. Well, it came up, and it was confetti. It was absolute confetti. And so Matt told me, something must be wrong. Send that back to Elliot. And I said, no, Matt, that's the reality. It is confetti. Okay, one of the driving forces here isn't just the sea breezes. It's some very good developers saying, I can get hold of a place like Weston and have a large enough project and make a first-rate enough project that regardless of where it is, it'll be an accumulation of wealthy people. So there's a lot of personal stuff going on. There's a lot of choice. Not everything is fate. Okay, and I think Weston, which is completely off the charts in where the wealth is located, is in fact somebody making a choice rather than a fate. Okay? I will discuss ideas elsewhere. Yes?
Andrés,